Explain to us from your point of view, do you believe that Kejriwal's incarceration is justified?
Well, let us first understand one thing. And I think this is where the nation must know that, like most of the Indians, common man, I am also against corruption. And I
Hmm.
do not support corruption in any form by anyone, be it by X, Y, or Z, any party. But what is troublesome is this in case of this Delhi liquor case, the timing. The timing of the summons issued to Mr. Kejriwal, because the investigation started long back. The and not ultimate his arrest is something which is really extraordinarily, I would say, painful. It is extraordinarily shameful, because this is a frontal attack on democracy. We are on the eve of the elections, general elections, and Mr. Kejriwal's Aam Aadmi Party is a national party recognized by the Election Commission. He has therefore a right to campaign for his party across the country. The entire purpose of this arrest is very clear, is to stop him from campaigning. Mr. Kejriwal's party has, tied up with Congress and other, India bloc parties, and perhaps because of that, this action has been taken. So that's one thing. The timing is disastrous. Secondly, what is really troublesome is this: what Supreme Court said today, Supreme Court should have said long back when Mr. Manish Sisodia came to the court, because the judgment of Supreme Court, which is really led to this, this emancipation of Enforcement Directorate, judgment of 2022 in Madan Lal something, I forget, is Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary's case, delivered by Justice Kanvilkar, who now is sitting pretty as Lokpal of the country.
Mm.
That judgment, unfortunately, is completely on wrong criminal jurisprudential principles. Because, the entire criminal jurisprudence is based on two fundamental principles: one, presumed innocent, and two, burden of proof. Every accused is presumed to be innocent till he is proved to be guilty by the prosecution, and the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Both these have been upset in PMLA by this judgment, which was delivered by the Supreme Court, sadly. I would say, more than the Enforcement Directorate, it is the judiciary which, according to me, is singularly responsible for failing democracy in this country in these PMLA cases. And this is really saddening, because judges who are supposed to uphold the liberty, judges who are supposed to know the law, judges who are supposed to interpret the law reasonably, have unfortunately, created a jurisprudence which has really created this Frankenstein in, Enforcement Directorate. Now, what is most important, however bad that judgment is predicated on one principle which everybody has singularly ignored in last 1 year, whether it is in case of Sanjay Singh or Manish Sisodia, and now in case of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal or Kavita or everybody. That judgment said, absent existence of proceeds of crime, as aforesaid, the authorities under the 2002 Act cannot step in or initiate prosecution. Now they have no proceeds of crime,
Mm.
and yet they are, proceeding on presumptions, and the judges are accepting day in and day out, be it the district judge, be it the High Court, be it the Supreme Court, that we are investigating. Mr. Kejriwal is not cooperating. Mr. X is not cooperating. They are not supposed to cooperate and admit their guilt. They have a right to remain silent. That's sacrosanct. You have to prove it. You have no, as judges of the Supreme Court today rightly said, where are the proceeds of crime?
Yeah.
Now, if there are no proceeds of crime, the judgment says you cannot, ED cannot step in and cannot initiate prosecution. So how is it that it is going on for last 1.5, 2 years? And who is therefore responsible? The judges. The judges had a constitutional duty, legal duty, moral duty to have stopped, stemmed this in the bud, and told the ED that you have no case, bring proceeds of crime before us and we will proceed. So I think what is really happening today is sad. I have no sympathy if Mr. Kejriwal and his colleagues have indulged in some corruption. They must be properly tried. No difficulty about it. I'm not here to support anybody. But I certainly feel that what is happening today in the country, ED is randomly attacking people. It's not just politicians.
Yeah.
It's even business community. People are being put behind bar. The judges have forgotten that bail is a right, jail is an exception. That principle is forgotten. Chief Justice Chandrachud, as you recall, said a few months ago at some seminar or some public platform that lower judiciary is afraid to give bail. What about the Supreme Court? What about the High Court? I mean, they have a duty. See, when Kejriwal came to Supreme Court under Article 32, the Supreme Court is bound to have listened to him because it is a question of his fundamental right. It's a question of his liberty. You cannot take away liberty by virtue of Article 21 of the Constitution except in accordance with law. And law is what Supreme Court has declared in Madan Lal Chaudhary's case, that sans proceeds of crime, you cannot step in, period. Now, there is no connection that they are able to make. And look at the way it is conducting. Reddy is one of the accused. Reddy is, allowed to, be granted bail with the connivance of the ED. He then turns approver and points a finger at Mr. X and Y and Z. Now he gets his father gets a ticket on behalf of TDP, who are partners of BJP, to fight Lok Sabha election. What does this show? That there was clearly a quid pro quo between ED and Mr. Reddy. Now, is this what court is blind? Is court mute spectator? Court is not supposed to protect democracy to the hilt? Is the court not required to ask pertinent questions to the ED? That, Mr. ED, why are you doing this? What is there? At this time, why is it? We will allow this man to go and campaign. You have anything? Come back to us after July. Now, this is where I feel that really judiciary has done more damage to civil liberties in this country, to democracy in this country, to free and fair election than ED has done. ED is certainly guilty of targeting people wrongfully without authority of law. But what judges have done is, to my mind, is really unforgivable.
Mr. Dave, I have more questions about Mr. Kejriwal in a minute, but you've also recently on a panel discussion said that certain political leaders are being arrested and they're being brought before specific judges who are sending the case to trial courts. Could you explain to us what you meant?
See, let us understand one thing. Corruption is a national phenomenon. It is really a greatest blot on our democracy. We all know that there is corruption everywhere. There is no state which is corruption free, be it run by BJP, be it run by opposition. Corruption starts from the level of Sarpanch till the highest levels in this country in democratic setup. We know that. The ED doesn't want to go after anybody else. The ED is only targeting the opposition leaders and opposition governments. I'll give you an example. For example, in respect of alleged sand mining, and mafias by sand mining, they have started investigations in Jharkhand. They have started investigation in Tamil Nadu. But I can tell you that you just go to Google and you'll find that hundreds and hundreds of cases relating to alleged sand mining mafias are pending in Gujarat, in Maharashtra, in Uttar Pradesh, in Haryana, and many other BJP states. Not one summons has gone to anybody. So this clearly shows that ED is being weaponized by the Bharatiya Janata Party to destroy its opposition and therefore destroy the democracy, bring authoritarianism, autocracy. The judges have to be conscious about it. And if judges are not conscious, I must tell you, late Justice H.R. Khanna, who was the only man during emergency who stood up and told the government, dissenting from majority, including that of Justice Bhagwati and Senior Chandrachud, that I will not allow citizens' fundamental rights to be taken away even during emergency. Now, that's what is required. These judges are today, accepting anything and everything that ED stands up and tells them, go to Sessions Court, go to High Court. No, I think the Supreme Court really is doing. Now, what is therefore happening is that these matters, for whatever reasons, I don't know why, there is a roster system in Supreme Court. It is supposed to be computerized. The computer is supposed to allocate matters. Now, why is it that by and large, the matters relating to opposition governments and opposition parties are being listed only before certain benches? I will not name the judges. Everybody in the country knows. But why is it that this is happening? And these judges are taking an extraordinarily conservative view and dismissing those matters. So it's something which really is extremely, I would say, disappointing, that this is happening in the highest court of the country. It shouldn't happen. This is a court which claims that if we are the custodian of fundamental rights of the citizens, we are here to protect the liberties of citizens. They shout on top of that in many judgments. But when it comes to actual implementation of that law declared by them, the judges take a back step and say, oh, we will do it when it comes to BJP people. We will not do it when it comes to opposition leaders. I'll give you an example. Mamata Banerjee's nephew. Now, I don't know what is going on between Mamata Banerjee and BJP. But what happened is shocking. He was issued summons by the ED. He doesn't appear. ED comes to Supreme Court and ED tells, or he came to Supreme Court, I don't know. But before the Supreme Court, ED stands up and says, oh, elections are round the corner, therefore we will not summon him till after the election. The bench, which generally is throwing everybody out, opposition leader, says, yes, you are right. We will adjourn the matter to July. And he will not be arrested or summoned till then. In another case, I was sitting in court. A small functionary of BJP came from Gujarat, Bharuch district, I remember, because I was sitting there. And he was externed from Bharuch because of certain illegal activities by the Gujarat BJP police. And he challenged it. In High Court, lost, came to Supreme Court. Judges said, you have no case, we'll throw you out. Then the lawyer started shouting, oh, I am a vice president of BJP, I am a president of BJP, and elections are around the corner, I have to campaign. Judges immediately said, all right, then we will issue notice, make it returnable on 10th of April. Now, what does this tell us? It is disappointing. Frankly, it hurts. I have been a lawyer for 46 years, but I have never seen this kind of a selective approach on the part of the highest court of the country. It doesn't. This is a great institution and it is really supposed to protect. It has done some remarkable work. It has outstanding judges. It has many outstanding judges who are doing remarkable job. Judges like Justice Abhayog, Justice Nagaratna, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. There are, Justice Sundaresh, Justice Bopanna. There are many outstanding judges in the Supreme Court. Justice Gawai, senior judge, very judge, Justice Suryakant, Chief Justice himself from time to time is definitely giving excellent judgments. Many a times he has failed the country. But this court comprising of good judges, why is it that this kind of listing takes place? Why is it that Chief Justice is not conscious that what my colleagues are doing is not right? They are not following the law declared by the Supreme Court for last 70 years. I must therefore step in and make sure that the roster is properly constituted, and these matters do not go to those judges who take an extraordinarily conservative approach, or rather anti-opposition approach. He has a duty as a master of roster. He can't be a silent spectator. So I personally feel that Chief Justice Chandrachud, despite trying to do many good things, including his judgments in electoral bond, Chandigarh mayor election, fact check notification, I still feel that he has to walk much more and much strongly to ensure that Supreme Court is really the court which executive cannot take it for granted. It's a court which will step in immediately when citizen complains that my fundamental rights are infringed. That's the kind of a court we want. We don't want a court which says, oh, your fundamental rights are infringed, go before a sessions court and satisfy. That's really, I would say, it's disappointing and it hurts.
Mr. Dave, looking specifically at the Kejriwal case and the Prevention of Money Laundering Act under which these arrests have been made, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act was brought in 2002 and it was amended in 2018, effectively flipping on its head the idea that one is innocent until proven guilty. The bail becomes that much harder. Would you say there's been precedence in the Supreme Court in the past that this particular law is faulty, needs to be looked at and needs to be changed? And that is perhaps what's going to come up here?
The judgment of Supreme Court in Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary, according to me, lays down completely wrong jurisprudential principles. It's a blot on Supreme Court. And review applications have been filed. I don't know why they are not being heard. The judges wanted to hear it, but they are not hearing it. despite the fact that they are openly saying that abuse is taking place left, right, and center. I can definitely tell you that abuse by officials of ED, I have come across cases as a lawyer, and I have appeared in some, which is really unacceptable. I mean, Prime Minister who promises us a very clean administration, right under his nose, the ED is misusing its power, and Prime Minister doesn't know about it and doesn't want to act. I don't believe that. The Prime Minister is completely know of what is happening in the country. So, for a man like Mr. Modi who really wants to do something good, this does not augur well. Frankly, as the most popular leader today in the country, nobody is anywhere near him. He is undoubtedly the most popular man as a politician. He really must ensure that this country becomes strong. To make this country strong, its democracy must be strong. Its rule of law must be strong. That requires that a strong opposition is there in the country, so that the opposition can check these kind of abuses by governmental authorities, which sometimes Mr. Prime Minister may miss. He must make sure that the judiciary remains fiercely independent, rather than allow some 600 lawyers to write a letter and indirectly attack independence of judiciary. So I find it very difficult to digest that Prime Minister, who I definitely feel wants, I mean, thinks good of India, believes in good of India, yet he allows this to go on. That really is a contradiction in his personality, and I am not able to fathom why he is permitting that. I mean, even if you were to allow a strong opposition, the opposition can together build this country, create millions of jobs which are needed, fight poverty, fight the gap between rich and poor, develop the country in the right way, remove polarization. All that the ruling party and opposition together can achieve. 1.4 billion people need that. They deserve that. So I
Well,
mean, I'm
look,
really,
on
I
that
really,
note, Mr. Dave, let me present before you this now. If we step back and look at the election that we're going into as the world's largest democracy, the mother of democracy, as our Prime Minister refers to, this country as. The sitting Delhi chief minister is in jail. The principal opposition party, Congress party, finds its accounts frozen by the income tax department. The election commission is facing questions about its independence and the manner in which its commissioners are being chosen. One commissioner resigned abruptly and without explanation before the largest election in the country. The government has given itself the authority to choose members of the election commission. All of this is sort of drawing a shadow on the elections that we're having. We've had questions right now by the United Nations, who've asked whether our elections will be free and fair. The United States and Germany's foreign office that have questioned whether or not we're really having a fair election. Do you think that these questions are baseless, or is there basis to that?
no, there is no doubt about the fact that elections are taking place, in the midst of huge controversies, which are going to really seriously, I would say, cast not just doubts, cast dark shadows on the entire election process. Take for example the schedule which the election commission has fixed. I don't know what kind of a schedule they fix like this. On the one hand, country is talking about holding one election for state elections and general elections. On the other hand, you have some 6 7 weeks of election process. In Gujarat, you have 1 day voting. Why do you have 7 days of voting in West Bengal or Maharashtra 5 times, or some other opposition state 5 times? Why? That schedule is to accommodate, because who has today the maximum money to really go zip from one corner of the country to the other, and the resources? The BJP. They can hire as many private jets as they can for their leaders, helicopters. The Prime Minister anyway, in name of security, has got special arrangements. Mr. Amit Shah, I'm sure, is using BSF aircraft all the time. So this kind of a schedule is extremely disadvantageous to the opposition, and it is clearly aimed at making a favorable time gap for the ruling party. That's one thing which is very troublesome to my mind. Secondly, Section 5 of the amending act, which BJP amended after Supreme Court's judgment saying Chief Justice should be involved in the selection panel, they said no, we will keep Chief Justice out. Instead, we will have minister chosen by Prime Minister. So you have now a selection committee of prime minister, his nominee, and opposition leader. Now what happens? That they meet, 200 names are selected, and in 2 hours 200 names are supposed to have been vetted. Now is it possible ever to vet 200 names in 2 hours? Even the most successful of the professional with great management background cannot do it. And secondly, section 5 of this amending act clearly says that you will only select those who have experience in management and conduct of elections. Do these two election commissioners who have been appointed have any experience at all? They are merely some IAS officers. Naturally, they will be under control of the government. This government does not choose any independent person anywhere, be it CAG, be it Lokpal, be it any other agency or constitutional body. You will find the government only is putting its own people. CAG is from Gujarat, and he has been working with Mr. Modi for last 20 years. So what do
We
you get?
understand that the two men who have been selected are close, were working closely with the Home Ministry this entire time as well.
Absolutely. No, what I'm troubling is this, that firstly, you take out the Chief Justice from the selection panel. Then you have this hurried process. And thirdly, you don't even see whether these two appointed have any management and conduct experience in elections. If they have none, they have no right to be there. So, the whole thing, I personally feel that, and this is what surprises me, that on the one hand, BJP says, oh, we are going to get 400 seats. But on the other hand, they are so nervous that they are not only trying to, have election process to their, liking, to their, suitable to their, program, their functioning, but they are taking every person who is accused by them of wrongdoing into their party, giving them tickets. Now, if you were so confident, why would you do that? That means that there is nervousness somewhere. Why would you take people who are facing charge under Prevention of Money Laundering Act, or other CBI cases or many other cases? Why would you take them in your party and next day give them tickets? So, or that judge from Calcutta High Court. I mean, Mr. Modi, the least of all, Mr. Modi, who claims to be a Democrat, should never have touched that judge. You do not touch judges who resign and next day are given ticket by. That's not done. That's the most improper thing that Bharatiya Janata Party has done. But they can get away with it because they have the raw power today in the country. So all this certainly is, I would say, troublesome, and they didn't need it. If they are so confident of winning election as they are telling the country again and again, why indulge in this? Why give an impression that you are adopting unfair means? You don't need it. Prime Minister doesn't need it. Prime Minister has an image which he can carry himself single-handedly. BJP is a rich party. It is very organized party. It has booth management which is exceptional. And all the entire opposition is virtually now, without money, without booth management, and, in helter and skelter. Yet, this is happening. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel that somewhere Prime Minister is not being advised rightly by people around him. And this is really a sad commentary. And statements by United States, Germany, and United Nations are not really, irresponsible statements. No foreign government makes statements unless they are also concerned, because we are world's largest democracy. They want a real democracy in this country. We don't want to go back to 1975 and have a, de facto emergency, as Mrs. Gandhi had declared. We want, she had a de jure. Today we have a de facto emergency. We don't want that situation. So everybody in the world is interested that India remains a very strong, vibrant democracy, which it has for last 77 years, except 2 years period. So I think everything is, there's something seriously, I would say, remiss on the part of top BJP leadership. They need to really introspect and think in larger interest of the country. And I sincerely hope and pray that Prime Minister sits back, and reconsiders what is happening.
Mr. Dave, bringing your attention back to the Kejriwal case, the Enforcement Directorate, according to the Indian Express, argued that he refused to hand over the password of his iPhone to the enforcement directorate so that they could look through it. Apparently, they've asked Apple to do it. Apple has denied unlocking, saying that it's against the rights of their users. And that is one of the reasons why the ED has argued that Arvind Kejriwal was not forthcoming during the questioning. On the other hand, the same ED, I want to point out to our audience, when Mr. Chhagan Bhujbal, accused of corruption in Maharashtra, switched parties and joined the NDA, the ED allegedly lost the files in their office and went to court and said, "We have no case against him. We want to withdraw the case because we lost the files." Is the ED here, Mr. Dave, purely an arm for the government, as is being accused by opposition?
See, there is no doubt. I said so earlier that it is what he's doing is a great disservice to the government and Prime Minister Mr. Modi, and Mr. Modi should realize that. But on the other aspect, on this, refusal of Mr. Kejriwal to give the his password, I'll tell you, many years ago there was a case of Selvi, where the question before the Supreme Court was whether accused can be compulsorily administered lie detector test, narco analysis test, and brain mapping test to extract information from him. And I was appointed amicus curiae, friend of the court by Chief Justice Balakrishnan, and assisted. Every state was arguing, including Government of India. Solicitor General Mr. Vahanvati appeared. Every state and Government of India wanted that we must have a right to compulsorily extract this information from the accused. And I argued that if you do that, the right to remain silent is so sacrosanct, it will be for all times to taken away. You do that, and we will go to those star chambers where you could extract confessions and convict people. We don't want that. We are a democracy governed by rule of law. We have constitution. We have constitutional principles. We have a jurisprudence which is beautiful. And I succeeded in that case. The Supreme Court said nothing doing. Nothing doing. We will not allow it. So, and what did I cite there? I cited judgment of the Israeli Supreme Court. Israeli Supreme Court said that we will not allow our security agencies to adopt third degree methods against Palestinian prisoners to extract information, knowing full well, judges said, that we know that our nation's existence is at threat, but we will not forget the basic human values which need to be protected by courts. I cited that, and judges were really taken in by that judgment. And they said it's amazing, because I said, look, Israel, which faces threats of terrorism every day, if their Supreme Court can take such a view, why should you take a different view? So I was happy that I succeeded. So likewise, Mr. Kejriwal has a right to say, I won't give you. It's my privacy. Why should I give you? So these are the kind of abuses when these authorities come and take away mobile. A lot of people have a lot of personal lives. We don't want these officers to know about our personal lives. Why should it happen? And judges should protect that right to privacy to the hilt.
In fact, Mr. Dave, the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court, when speaking at an event just recently in the last 24 hours, has said that there needs to be a clear line between investigation and protecting the privacy of an individual.
Absolutely,
Is the ED forgetting that line?
Oh yes, ED, CBI, everybody has forgotten. Judges themselves have forgotten. It's all right for Chief Justice to say that in Supreme Court, but Supreme Court is day in and day out, refusing to follow. This judgment in Madanlal Chaudhary is a classic example where they have, shifted the burden on the accused, and this PMLA is being abused left, right, and center thanks to Supreme Court judgment, which has weaponized DT. It's not government alone which has done it. It is the judges of the Supreme Court who have weaponized DT, and that really speaks very poorly about us as a democracy.
I have a couple of questions from our audience, Mr. Ravi. Divyansh says, I have a follow-up question.
5 minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes. If UPA and laws like PMLA are being used like this and a sitting chief minister can't get bail, then who am I as an ordinary citizen? Where are my rights? It's a fair question.
I agree. I must tell you one thing, Mr. Questioner, that we are certainly living in a country where fear has taken over. And we are definitely unsure as to whether we'll get any kind of justice. Firstly, justice is terribly delayed. Secondly, justice is more often than not denied, and on wrong considerations, on wrong principles. So yes, nobody, you are not safe, I am not safe, nobody is safe in this country today. I cannot say with confidence today that if anything were to happen to me, I will get justice from my courts, because I don't know what will happen. So, I mean, it's a sad commentary on us. Rule of law is seriously, I would say, under challenge. And we need to, as a nation, debate it. Must bring it back on the pedestal where, justice becomes, everybody must be sure that since I have not committed any wrong, I must get justice. That surety must be there. That surety is missing because of the judicial approach especially in last 10, 15 years, 10 years.
Right. Mr. Dave, you've given me half an hour. I've exhausted that half an hour. So I want to thank you for your time. I won't overstay my welcome. Thank you so much for
Thank you
speaking
very
with
much.
us. And I do
Thanks a lot.
hope we can talk again in the future.
let
Thank
us
you.
let
Thank
us let us salute our great democracy, our great country. India is one of the finest countries in the world, and I would never live anywhere in the world, even despite this atmosphere of fear. I love it so much. And so let us pray that this country progresses and in right direction. Thank you very
I
much.
agree with you, Mr. Dave. Thank you very much. Good night to our viewers. Thank you for watching.